no one would grab you, ram a funnel down your throat, and pour wine into you. Some people, Khalid knew, enjoy drinking more because it was haram, forbidden. He glanced over at Dawud. Jews could drink alcohol as they pleased. His partner's glass was already empty. Dawud didn't seem to miss the extra fillip. Christians could drink as they pleased, too. Back in Khalid's father's day, whenever you saw a Christian in a movie, he'd be lying dead drunk in a gutter. Directors didn't do that so much anymore. It was, what did high-minded people call it? Annoyed at himself, Khalid groped for a word again. This time he found it without having to shout it loud. Insensitive. That was what they said. He snorted softly. You couldn't offend anybody these days. Christians, blacks, Eskimos, they all started screaming their heads off. And the Eskimos were insisting that you call them Inuit. He snorted again. He wasn't worried about Eskimos. Even under the name they decided they liked better. Christians, sadly, were a different story. His eyes flicked this way and that. About a third of the passengers on this flight were Christians. Instead of the robes and keffiyehs that were standard for well-dressed men from Cairo to Tangier, from New Damascus to Seattle in the Sunset Lands, across the Western Ocean, from Shanghai to Jakarta to Delhi, yes, and from Rome to London too, they stubbornly clung to their short tunics and tight trousers. And the women, Khalid al-Zarzisi sighed. Their tunics were baggy so as not to display the bust line, and had sleeves that reached their wrists. Similarly, skirts dragged to the ground. A devout Christian woman was more dismayed to show her bare ankle than a worldly Muslim woman would have been to get surprised naked. Not all Muslim women were so very worldly, nor all Christians so very devout. Altogether, though, altogether, what is one to do with such people? Khalid wondered. Dawud produced a cigar and stared at it longingly. No smoking on this flight, sir, the stewardess said, her voice starchy with disapproval. Yes, I was just reminding myself I still have it. Dawud put it away with the air of a man saying farewell to a love lost forever, or at least until he could light up again. Those things aren't good for you, you know, Khalid remarked. I do know that as a matter of fact. Everyone says it so often. I suppose it must be true, his partner answered. What I didn't know was that someone told you you were my mother. Ears burning, Khalid subsided. To his relief, the pilot announced that they were starting their descent into Rome then. The brassy, amplified voice booming out of speakers made the silence between the two investigators seem less oppressive. Khalid hoped it did, anyhow. He peered out the window as the airliner came in for a landing. Rome had been a great city once. Monuments from ancient days still poked out from the houses and shops and businesses surrounding them. The ancient Romans hadn't been Muslims, of course. Till late in their history, they hadn't been Christians either. Some people, even some otherwise cultured people, still thought of everything before Muhammad's day as part of the Jahiliyyah, the time of ignorance. How anyone could look at the remains of the Colosseum and reckon the Romans ignorant was beyond Khalid. You had to keep a sense of history, a sense of proportion, didn't you? The airliner bounced once when the landing gear hit the runway. A Christian woman sitting on the other side of the aisle from Khalid and Dawud crossed herself in gratitude that they'd made it. Khalid didn't like open displays of piety. They made him nervous. He had his reasons, too, but he doubted any of them would have made sense to the Christian woman. Along with everybody else, he and Dawud filed off the airplane. Signs inside the airport were in Arabic and in the blocky, backwards-running characters of the Roman alphabet, in Italian. He followed them to baggage claim. There he stood and waited, and waited, and waited. He began to fume. Dawud was fuming, too, literally. As soon as he'd got inside, he'd lit up that cigar. Now he puffed happy clouds of smoke. Muslims and Christians had proved equally fond of the weed from the Sunset Lands. Several Christians